Every morning, the glucose meter flashes the same confusing number, higher than last night, even though dinner was light or skipped altogether. The effort feels wasted. You take your medication, avoid sweets, fill your plate with vegetables, and yet the numbers climb. The body feels heavy and slow. Fatigue sets in before breakfast. The mouth is dry, the head foggy, the eyes blurry. Some mornings bring a racing heartbeat or trembling hands. Standing up too quickly causes dizziness. The legs tingle. The fingertips lose their warmth. Others describe a strange pressure in the chest, cold palms, and a sudden sweat just before dawn. Sleep is rarely deep. You wake thirsty, needing to urinate once or twice, and rise with a bitter taste or a pounding pulse. It seems logical to blame the medicine, to increase the dose, switch drugs, or skip the evening meal altogether. But each change only deepens the exhaustion, and still the morning glucose stays high. After 60, the body no longer processes sugar the same way. The pace of absorption slows, insulin responds later, and both liver and muscle lose their steady rhythm. The issue is not how much you eat, but when. A mistimed dinner or late-night snack confuses the body's inner clock. Glucose is released at the wrong hour. Insulin cannot match it, and morning readings rise even with perfect discipline. By the end of this video, you will understand why your morning glucose increases despite careful habits. Recognize early signs of disrupted rhythms and learn how to restore balance through precise timing of meals, rest, and medication. When morning glucose stays high despite careful habits, the reason often lies in quiet misconceptions that seem harmless but subtly disrupt the body's rhythm. One common assumption is that eating less keeps sugar low. In truth, when meals are too small or skipped, the liver senses deprivation and releases glucose to protect energy levels, especially as cortisol rises before sunrise. Another belief is that choosing healthy foods is enough. Yet even the cleanest diet can backfire if meals are timed poorly. Insulin works in cycles, and food eaten at the wrong moment overwhelms that rhythm. Many think a light late dinner is safe, but as melatonin increases in the evening, insulin efficiency drops by nearly 40%, leaving glucose circulating long into the night. Some try increasing medication when morning readings climb. This often causes low sugar while asleep, followed by a rebound spike known as the somogy effect. Others rely on a glass of wine to help digestion, unaware that alcohol pauses the liver's glucose control, creating an early dip and a late surge. Eating before bed to prevent a drop only keeps the liver and pancreas active all night, trapping the body in imbalance. Late-night exercise feels productive, yet it raises cortisol and heart rate, disturbing rest and lifting morning sugar. Even cutting out all carbohydrates can mislead the body, pushing the liver to create glucose from protein and fat. Real stability comes not from restriction, but from living in sync with the body's internal clock. After exposing the common misconceptions, it becomes clear that high morning glucose is not random, but follows predictable biological patterns deeply tied to the body's timing system. One of the most important of these is the dawn phenomenon. Between 4 and 8 in the morning, cortisol and glucagon rise to prepare energy for the new day. In younger adults, insulin quickly balances this release. After 60, however, insulin secretion slows, cells become less responsive, and the liver continues sending glucose into the bloodstream unchecked. Another hidden factor is the somogy effect. When blood sugar drops too low at night due to medication or skipped meals, the body releases counter-regulatory hormones that push glucose sharply upward by morning. This rebound often misleads patients into thinking their medicine has failed. Both processes can overlap, especially in older adults taking multiple medications or struggling with fragmented sleep. Added influences such as stress, late nights, alcohol, muscle loss, and inactivity further amplify the imbalance. Research supports these links. A 2022 study in diabetes care found that 68% of people over 60 experience elevated morning glucose despite proper diets. Frontiers in Endocrinology in 2021 showed that sleeping less than 6 hours raises fasting glucose by an average of 18 milligrams per deciliter. Nature Aging in 2023 revealed a 27% delay in insulin response after 60, while JAMA Internal Medicine in 2022 connected disrupted morning cortisol rhythms to a fasting glucose increase of 0.4 millimoles per liter. Together, these findings show that morning hyperglycemia reflects a deeper loss of coordination among insulin, the liver, stress hormones, sleep, and evening meals. Following the disruption of hormonal rhythm described earlier, one of the strongest triggers for morning glucose elevation is the habit of eating dinner too late. When food enters the system near bedtime, glucose levels remain high throughout the night, forcing the liver and pancreas to keep working instead of resting. Insulin also becomes less effective in the evening because melatonin naturally suppresses its action. As a result, sugar remains in circulation while the liver continues releasing more. The immediate effects are easy to feel: restless sleep, racing heartbeat, dizziness on waking, thirst, and morning fatigue despite a full night in bed. Over time, the damage grows deeper. Chronic late eating contributes to fatty liver, lipid imbalance, elevated blood pressure, vascular injury, and cognitive decline. Scientific studies confirm this pattern. Cell Metabolism in 2019 found that eating at 10 p.m. raised fasting glucose by 19% and reduced tissue oxygen by 10%. JAMA Network, open in 2022, reported that eating within 2 hours of sleep increased the risk of type 2 diabetes by 60%. The American Heart Association in 2020 linked post-9 p.m. dinners to a 55% higher risk of heart disease, while the British Medical Journal in 2023 found a 15% rise in visceral fat among habitual late eaters. At the hormonal level, evening melatonin weakens insulin, while rising morning cortisol drives the liver to release even more glucose. Over months or years, this dual pressure breaks the body's circadian harmony, leaving it trapped in a false daylight state that fuels inflammation, oxidative stress, and persistent metabolic instability. Building on the effects of late-night eating, aging itself adds another layer of complexity that magnifies morning glucose spikes. With age, muscle mass gradually declines, reducing the body's largest reservoir for storing glucose. Less muscle means less capacity to absorb sugar after meals, leaving more glucose circulating in the blood. The pancreas also slows its release of basal insulin, while the liver increasingly misjudges timing, releasing glucose when it is not needed. At the same time, the production of growth hormone, melatonin, and DHEA decreases, disrupting the hormonal balance that normally keeps blood sugar stable. Digestive enzyme output falls as well, lengthening the absorption process. Glucose then enters the bloodstream more slowly but continues to rise through the night, contributing to high fasting readings. Research reflects these changes clearly. Harvard Health in 2020 found that insulin clearance slows by 35% after age 60. Interrupted sleep and nighttime urination further activate the hypothalamic pituitary adrenal axis, raising cortisol. Exposure to artificial light in the evening confuses circadian signals, leading the body to believe it is still daytime and releasing insulin at the wrong phase. Frontiers in Aging in 2021 showed that circadian disruption nearly doubles the risk of elevated morning glucose. The European Journal of Endocrinology in 2022 reported that people over 60 who eat late dinners face a 1.5 times higher risk of type 2 diabetes. Each of these age-related changes compounds the harm of late meals, forcing the liver, pancreas, heart, and brain to work out of rhythm with one another. After recognizing how aging alters metabolism, the next step is to restore harmony between daily routines and the body's natural rhythm. The goal is to help hormones, insulin, and digestion return to their natural sequence through consistent timing rather than restriction. Dinner should ideally be completed before 6:30 in the evening, leaving at least 3 hours before sleep. When eating later cannot be avoided, reduce fast carbohydrates and emphasize vegetables and easily digested proteins. Keeping meals at the same time each day stabilizes the circadian clock and improves glucose regulation. Breakfast within 1 hour of waking helps reset the insulin and cortisol rhythm. According to Frontiers in Nutrition in 2020, early breakfast lowers the risk of elevated morning glucose by 24%. Skipping breakfast extends cortisol activity, leading to higher midday and next morning glucose. Avoid sweet desserts, ripe fruits, strong tea, and alcohol in the evening. Reduce fluid intake before bed to limit nighttime urination. A 15 to 20-minute walk after meals, reported by Diabetologia in 2018, can lower post-meal glucose by 15 to 25 milligrams per deciliter and improve insulin sensitivity. Maintain a regular bedtime between 9:30 and 10 o'clock at night, away from blue light, to allow proper melatonin release. Track meals, sleep, and glucose for 7 consecutive days to understand your personal rhythm. Follow the 14-day plan. Days 1 to 3. Eat early and fix bedtime. Days 4 to 7. Maintain morning meals and walk after eating. Days 8 to 14. Record results and adjust medication timing with professional guidance. Aim for a routine guided by natural light. Wake at 6:30. Breakfast at 7. Lunch at 12. Dinner at 6. Walk at 6:30. And sleep at 10. Eating in daylight helps the body synchronize insulin with its true internal clock. If morning glucose remains above 130 milligrams per deciliter after 2 to 3 weeks of early dinners and consistent sleep, it signals that deeper adjustments may be needed. Persistent thirst, frequent urination, weight loss, blurred vision, and morning fatigue are warning signs that regulation is still incomplete. To identify the cause, measure glucose at 3 o'clock in the morning for 2 or 3 nights. If the level is low and rises sharply by morning, it suggests the Somogai effect. If it stays normal but increases before waking, it indicates the dawn phenomenon. According to the American Diabetes Association in 2024, synchronizing basal insulin injections with meal timing can reduce morning glucose by 15 to 20 milligrams per deciliter. Physicians should review glucose-lowering medications, dosing schedules, basal insulin types, and possible interactions with cardiac drugs, diuretics, or corticosteroids. Older adults or those on multiple medications need close monitoring, as shifting meal times can alter drug absorption. Never adjust doses or switch medications without guidance. After 60, the body reacts more slowly and is prone to nighttime hypoglycemia. Keep a 7-day glucose diary and bring it to medical visits to compare readings before and after schedule changes. If high blood pressure also rises in the morning, discuss possible morning surge syndrome, where cardiovascular and glucose peaks coincide. Once blood sugar patterns and medication timing are stabilized, the body begins to restore its natural rhythm of recovery. During the night, the liver finally rests, oxidative stress decreases, and the pancreas resumes a steady insulin rhythm. Sleep becomes deeper, the heartbeat steadier, and blood pressure lowers naturally, allowing the body to wake feeling clear and refreshed. Scientific studies reinforce these benefits. The European Heart Journal in 2022 reported that eating before 7 in the evening reduces the risk of coronary disease by 23%. Nature Metabolism in 2023 showed that consuming meals during daylight hours improves insulin sensitivity by 20%. Fatty liver and chronic inflammation also decline, while memory and sleep quality improve. The Lancet Diabetes and Endocrinology in 2023 linked consistent early dinners with an 18% lower risk of premature death among people with diabetes. When the circadian clock returns to balance, hormones, digestion, cardiovascular function, and brain activity work in quiet coordination. Mornings feel light and effortless, as if the body has been finely tuned to run smoothly once again. After seeing how restoring meal timing repairs sleep, energy, and heart rhythm, the deeper truth becomes clear. After 60, the body does not need stronger medicine. It needs the right moment. A high morning glucose reading is not a sign of failure, but a message that the internal clock has drifted out of sync. Eating earlier, lighter, and at consistent hours allows the liver, pancreas, and heart to rest and awaken in harmony. When the body once again follows the pattern of light and time, mornings no longer begin with worry or exhaustion, but with genuine clarity, strength, and calm.